Welcome, everybody, to the LIPSEY'S Aim Higher podcast. And across from me, as always, is Jason Klossner. I am Rob Abruzzino. And we've got a very special guest today. We've got Mr. Mark Smith, President and CEO of Smith & Wesson. Welcome, Mark.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. I think it's been a little over a year. If I'm not mistaken, was it March Madness last year, your last visit?
Our last customer trip was here for March Madness.
That's right, yeah.
And our first customer trip since the pandemic has been back here.
Yes, score for LIPSEY'S.
Yeah.
No place else to go.
You kicked us off last year. March Madness is a big sales event for us. It's a big charity event, employee-led charity event for us, and you kicked that off. And we had Coach O here, the head coach of the national champion Fighting Tigers at the time. So that was a fun day.
I thought we were good partners, and then Coach O walked in, and he did a big speech, and then he handed it over to me. My lead-in act was Coach O. That was nice.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that. So.
Yeah, well, listen, we really appreciate you being here, and we just wanted to chat a little bit. I know you're on a tight schedule, but wanted to snag you for a few minutes and just kind of talk a little bit about the last year, maybe some new product and things like that. So, Jason, I'll kind of let you kick it off. Maybe we can, go back to last year a little bit, and a lot's happened in the past 12, 14 months here,
Yeah, it's definitely been the biggest challenge since we've been in the industry for sure. And I tell you, Smith & Wesson has really stepped up, and you guys have really been the heroes of getting guns out and getting them to the market this last year. I mean, Mark, what are some of the struggles that you guys had, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, every year I was just talking yesterday with one of our customers and just talking about that time frame, and back in March and April of everybody was every day you'd wake up and something new. We didn't know what the guidance was going to be, how serious this thing was, and what you should or should not be doing, and how do you keep the employees safe while keeping the business going, and obviously
who's here, who's not here, who do we need to help?
Exactly, and and at that time, obviously the market was going crazy, and we wanted to make sure that we continue to supply product for those looking to protect themselves, their families, and how do we do that, and so anyway all kudos to our operations team. They did an unbelievable job. We kind of we sent all the office staff home for a few weeks back there in March and April of last year, and the operations staff stayed in and they got it done and ramped production over 60%. So kudos to them. We really killed it, and that's all the operations team and being able to keep themselves and their fellow employees safe. You think about all the changes and and working on the fly and dealing with that uncertainty and for them and themselves, and in addition to keeping themselves safe, their our employees safe, and putting all those changes in and barriers between workstations and the assembly line, and temperature checks, and putting in the obviously then the masks, and so anyway, it's been a hell of a year, and really proud of our team. What they've
I mean, there was definitely no playbook to go by. I mean, you were writing it as the day would go by. I tell you what, you need to give kudos to your procurement people too for getting all the ammo to test all those guns with.
Yeah.
I know that's been a struggle with a lot of manufacturers getting the ammo to test all that stuff.
It's still to this day a daily struggle, obviously, for us. I mean, I know a lot of your audience is probably having a hard time getting ammo and thinking that we're using it. We're having a hard time getting ammo too. So it's not us.
Yeah,
no doubt. Well, and the good thing too is not only did you get out a lot of product, I mean, really a ton of stuff. You also created a lot of new products this last year. You've had the Shield Plus. I mean, that's been a huge one.
Absolutely.
I mean, that product category, that little micro subcompact double stack style magazine gun, I mean, is really the hottest thing out there. And I tell you, the Shield Plus really came out of I think hitting it in stride. Tell us about some of the. I think a lot of people like to know how long does it take to get these things to market? People, you don't snap your fingers and say, okay, let's do a new magazine. It takes time and testing, a lot of ammunition expended. Tell us a little bit about the time frame on that,
especially with the strain of last year. Coupled with that.
We just talked about ammo. I mean, our new product development team, our engineers and all the technicians, and they're unbelievable. And it does. You're right, Jason. It takes brand new product like that can take up to 2-3 years sometimes to develop. And that's, it sounds, how can it take, it's a firearm. You guys, this is what you do for a living. Right. How can it take that long? Well, I mean, we obviously have high quality standards, and we want that firearm to be reliable. That's what our brand stands for. That workmanship and quality, and those engineers are putting tens of thousands of rounds through the test guns, through one gun, just to make sure that there's no issues and nothing's going to go wrong with those firearms.
Big expectations from Smith and Wesson too. This is again a popular category, and it's got to be right. It's got to be right, especially coming from a brand as big as yours.
It's got to hit it's got to hit it right out of the gate. That's the expectation. So, so they did a tremendous job, and we get asked a lot about why even introduce new product in this environment, and I think. You got to be a little bit more, cautious and strategic about it, and we don't want to just be introducing new product just for the sake of it. I mean, obviously the market is constrained, and the demand is so high right now that everybody's having a hard time keeping up. But I mean, we got to keep putting new product out there and keeping our consumers excited about our brands, and so I mean we've been pretty aggressive with it, and we got a pretty good new product pipeline coming up behind it now for the rest of this year as well.
Well, the big number everybody's been talking about the last year is the 8 million first-time gun buyers and everything, and that's been great. But we've got hundreds of millions of gun buyers who maybe already have a shield or already have a whatever, so they want something new as well.
Got to keep them interested,
right?
Keep
so
them engaged.
It's kudos to Smith for keeping that in mind and getting those guns out. The little M&P 1522 pistol. I mean, what a fun little gun that little thing's been. I mean, it's just been, and in this market, I mean, what a great introduction when you really didn't need to strain your AR line any more than you already did, and you come out with some new items, some pistols and the 5.56 and everything, and that. Those guns have been home runs. They've been really, really successful, beyond the fact that those guns have had a heightened demand.
Yeah, we always got to be thinking about, look, in this market, this industry is cyclical, right? We go through this, and and then we go through these periods of capacity constraints, and then things kind of soften up, and then we go through capacity constraints, and we're always you got to make that decision for what's right for the brand in the long term, not what's right for 2 weeks or 2 months or even 2 years from now. What's right for 10 years from now, right? So, and always making sure that brand and all our products and that product portfolio is where we want that brand to be in the future, in 5 years from now, and 10 years from now,
right?
Stand true to that, right? So.
It'd be nice to be manufacturing ammo right now, but you're right. Does that make sense for the long term? That's exactly. The easy answer is we should let's make ammo because there's a shortage. Yeah. But how does that fit?
How does that play long term?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
The number one response we get from consumers all the time is like, why don't they just make more? I say, it's not that easy. You gotta. Yeah. Even if you had the facilities and the machinery, just getting the people hired and trained, it's a struggle. And that's where a lot of I think the breakdown has been at the manufacturing level. It's not necessarily been the hard use equipment. It's been the people.
And we want the right people making our ammo. Trust me.
Right, and our guns too.
and our guns,
right.
Obviously.
But it's just not easy to just say, okay, let's just snap our fingers and let's just start making more. It takes time. I mean, we're doing a warehouse expansion here, and it's just warehouse space. We're not adding machinery and CNC and all that stuff, and it's going to take months and months and months just to add that warehouse space. So, it's not that easy. So for you to take the same amount of people, and at times even less people, and the same amount of machinery, and crank out that many more guns and get them out there has really been a hell of an accomplishment.
They've done great, and you're right, Jason. I mean, you've been to our facility. We've got over 500 CNC machines. Each one of these is upwards of $500,000 a piece. You can't just add those machines, and first of all, just to get them is 6 months to get them installed and up and running, and then you got to have. You're right, and then our operators who run those machines are highly skilled labor. It's that's precision machining, and to try and find and then now you got a machine. Now you got to get somebody to run it, and and you got to be very careful about as we said, we're kind of we end up in a cyclical pattern here where you can't capacitize to the top because then when things kind of soften, now you got a bunch of machines sitting around.
Right.
So you got to be very careful and judicious about that. But so we were able to kind of we got kind of a little bit of a proprietary secret sauce here where we can use some people on the outside and help us add to our internal, and we can ramp pretty quick. And then that helps us in the downturn too, where we don't have to turn. We don't have to have idle machines because we're using some folks on the outside as well, and we can kind of use their capacity when we need it, and kind of turn it off when we don't. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's smart.
Smith & Wesson has also done a great job of of helping the new first-time gun buyers get familiarized with guns, and not only the brand, but also on how to use. And then tell us a little bit about Gunsmart and how that's been.
That's a big positive of the past year too. There's a lot of new shooters. I don't know what the number's at now, 7 million or something, whatever it was last year.
Yeah, they say it was around 8 million last year.
Yeah.
And of course, that's those numbers from a few months ago. So I imagine it's probably north. of 10.
We're thinking it's north of 10 now.
Wow, that's incredible. But Smith & Wesson being proactive about it, and about July, August of last year, we kind of started to see, notice that strong trend. And so I remember the day we got, Sue Capero runs our sales and Kyle Tangwall runs marketing, and the three of us sat in my office and just kind of went through the whiteboard and said, who are these new people? How do they think? Who are they? What was their purchase intent? Why are they buying new products? And what products are they buying? And how do we, they've never owned a firearm before. I mean, so what we kind of found out was we did some studies and spent a fairly significant amount of money and time on kind of doing some studies on these people and who are they and why are they buying a firearm and have they ever owned a firearm and are they from a firearm owning family or do they? And what we found was a lot of them are not, right? And it's an intimidating purchase. And so now how do we welcome them into the industry so that we can turn them into long-range shooting sports enthusiasts, and that's good for our industry. It's good for them. It's good for So then we launched Gunsmarts, and we said, okay, so how do we we use Julie Golub and a lot of our pro shooters and Jerry Mikulik, and so it's a great video library.
We got Ken on board, and just how do you field strip a pistol?
Right.
How do you clean it?
Right.
How do you what can you expect when you shoot a gun? Keeping your hand away from the back of the slide.
Right. There's a lot of little things that we take for granted.
Yeah, that we as industry people who have, you don't even think about that. But for somebody who's new to shooting, right? I mean, how do you so happy to see so many of the other firearms manufacturers picking up on that as well. This is not something we should be saying. Oh, well, we need to be we need everybody to do that because that helps all of us. Right?
Absolutely,
it helps all of us. It helps the Second Amendment and more people. The more consumers we get into the understanding, the reasons behind the Second Amendment and why we have that, that right as Americans, and the more people we can get, the more critical mass, the more grassroots we can get, the better. So we as an industry need to continue doing that.
That's at smith-wesson.com/gunsmarts, I think is the website for everybody listening if you want to check that out. A lot of great videos, as Mark just mentioned.
And even for people who are familiar with shooting, there's some great stuff on there. I mean, Smith & Wesson has some of the best brand ambassadors out there. I mean, if you can't learn something from Jerry or Julie or one of their crew, you can learn more than you think. Those guys and gals have lots of talents and little tips and tricks, stuff that even experienced shooters can glean on. So
for sure,
you don't have to be a first time user to get some benefit out of
things you forgot about that you might want to revisit.
Yeah, absolutely,
or some of the basics.
And what we're seeing is a huge uptick in guns. So there's a lot of people who maybe got into guns the last 10 years, but maybe never tried a revolver. Maybe never tried a lever action rifle or whatever else.
Right.
So they're getting into different stuff. And so even though they're an experienced shooter, it's something that's new to them. We're seeing that especially with double action revolvers. There's been a huge uptick in interest in that. There's more people carrying them now, especially with the ammunition situations.
Yeah.
If a guy's got a stockpile of 38 special ammo and he's winding down on his 9mm, well, maybe now he's carrying a 686, or he's training more with it, or he's shooting it more. Those videos are great, even for the experienced guy, for maybe a different platform. So check them out.
So, Mark, you've got a really rare view, that most of us don't have of the industry and kind of where we're headed now. So, what does the future look like to you as far as maybe the more immediate future, say through the end of the year? I guess we can just kind of go with that as you see manufacturing continuing to kind of ramp up and demand and so forth. How do you feel? What do you see? What are your thoughts on kind of where we're headed here? Obviously, there's the political climate out there, which that's a whole other thing. But from your seat, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you can look at the NICS data over the last year and see that this has just been I think the word unprecedented is overused, but it really has for our industry been unprecedented. I mean, it's a record-breaking year, which is great to see. A lot of people in this last year kind of waking up and realizing, oh, that's why we have the right to bear arms and protect ourselves, right? I mean, so with all of the craziness that's happened in the last year between COVID and civil unrest, and and the lockdowns, and so I think now as we kind of come out of that, every time we kind of go through one of these, these surges, as we call them in the industry, it seems like we always settle back down at a higher level, right? And I think, where we go from here, it's tough to tell. But I think, you look at the number of new shooters that we were just talking about that have come into the marketplace, and NSSF did a study, a few years back now, but at that time. And we weren't focused on new shooters. We weren't focused on welcoming them to the industry like we are now, and like we just talked about the Gunsmarts and some of the other things from the other manufacturers. Right. At that time, it was 25%. So if you were went out and bought a firearm for the first time, 25% of those people 1 in 4 came back and bought their second. And so I think even if we get only that, which I think that would be conservative to say that, even if we only get that, we've made a pretty big,
that's huge
paradigm shift in our base of consumers, right? So I think that's that bodes very well for us in an industry going forward. Specifically, what does it mean for the next year, or for the rest of this year? I think it's obviously that political climate. It's no secret that people getting up on the bully pulpit and talking about gun control drives people to go out and purchase firearms for fear of their rights being restricted. Right. I don't see that going away anytime soon. No. Right? So
it's we talk about the rises we have over the years, but this one was definitely different because this is the first one, at least in my time in 23 years, where people not just bought guns because of fear that they might not be able to buy a gun, but in fear of they might actually need to use their guns. Yeah. And that was a different motivator, I think, this time around. And like you said, if we normally are kind of retaining, 1 out of every 4 or 5 of those people, great thing about Smith & Wesson is you've got a broad product line. So if they maybe bought a shield or bought an AR-15, there's a chance to get them maybe into a revolver down the road or a different category or a 22, a rimfire or something like that. And so that's, I think, the great challenge that the industry has is to how to pique the interest and not just be, something for self-protection or for unrest or for political strife or whatever else, but actually to go have fun and enjoy it and use it and realize that this is it's a fun hobby to have, regardless of what your original motivation was to purchase. Absolutely. So I think
we're seeing a big push in that. Actually, we're seeing now that we watch the industry trends, and our revolvers are now starting to be the one that's it's kind of shifted from the pistols still remaining in high demand, but now our revolvers are starting, and I think that's a lot of what you're talking about is some of that might be driven by the ammo and, people have revolver ammo that now they want to shoot up. But I think a lot of that is also driven by people just, getting interested in, you're right, going out and bought a pistol and, okay, now I got a pistol and I shot that. That's fun. Now, let me go get a revolver now, Right. So I think we are starting to see that, kind of people active in the shooting sports now, right? So it's going to be interesting. I think it bodes well for us and the industry going forward.
Yeah, it feels that way. Looking back to getting back to normal a little bit more, being able to travel more. SHOT Show, making big plans again for SHOT Show next year. So I think everything's starting to shape up again. I don't know what we're going to display at SHOT Show. We'll see.
I don't know. Yeah. I know
we'll have fun. We'll hold a couple back for you.
Yeah, I'm about to say if we have anybody who can supply guns, it'll be Smith & Wesson.
Yeah. So well, Mark, listen, I can't thank you enough for taking a few minutes out today. I know we got a busy schedule. You guys are out of here pretty soon, and welcome back to the Bayou. You got good food and a flood, so that's you got all the culture of Louisiana.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys setting that up for us. Yeah,
the flood
was nice.
Yeah, it's a nice touch. Yeah. Special order. Yeah. Hey, thank you though, and look forward to having you back and seeing you again soon. And safe travels. So
thank you,
everybody. You know where to find us. All the socials at Lipsey's Guns and at LIPSEY'S.com, and again Smith-Wesson.com /Gunsmarts for all you new shooters out there. And until next time, aim higher.